All right, we're gonna go to some Instagram questions that we have from listeners, and we'll start with Keith. Well,
I,
you
I
were
was confused by this at first too, because like I was like, oh, why is everyone calling him Keith in the mentions? And then, of course, if
Yeah,
you listen to your guys' podcast, I guess you said that on the Commonwealth, for the Commonwealth Games, you were registered as Keith once, right? Is that correct?
yeah. So what happened was, I got like they have like a portal login, and obviously with COVID protocols and like medical data, they're trying to set up like an application where you send in all your information, and they put me down as Keith Hoare. I don't know where that came from, but my username is still Keith Hoare because they can't change it. They just rechanged the email and put it back to Oliver. So we joked about that in the pod. And then it kind of became a running in joke. Like people will call me Keith of the Track. There's already an Instagram account called Keith Hoare 1309, who has almost like 150 followers. But there's a kind of a joke that's going on now that I'm not Oliver. I'm not like the guy doing it. I'm actually the imposter, and Keith is the guy that's coming in. So it's like an alter ego kind of thing going on at the moment, which is pretty funny. Athletics Australia unfortunately made a mistake, and now they have to deal with people calling me Keith Hoare. But that's a great to get to the question. The boys call me Keith here, so I haven't really been enjoying it, but it's been pretty funny. Keith, consider 5K at Worlds and Commonwealth. I had this conversation with George actually because Georgie's thinking of doing the 15 and potentially maybe another event in the future, but it'd be interesting to see how I might hopefully run another 5K in the future, because running it like that's one thing. Running it against the best in the world in a competitive way where they can just drop a K like it's nothing is another thing. I think it'd be interesting to maybe potentially do like a 1500 at Worlds, maybe a 5K at Commonwealth Games, maybe mix it up and match, and see what we could do. There are talks from people saying, "Oh, you could potentially double at the World Champs for the 1500 and 5K if I am lucky enough to get selected for it." But it'd be an interesting experience. This is my third ever 5K in my history of running. My second as a pro. So I think for me, I just need to, unfortunately, run more 5Ks, which doesn't sound great to me because I love the 1500. But it is something that I'm considering now, because I think after being able to run like that and being comfortable, and obviously so early in the season, I think it could be an event for me that I could potentially do well at. So definitely considering it.
awesome. All right, our next one. Mustache care routine. Need to ask everyone.
Yeah, you definitely do. Well, the great thing about it is the three boys in the pod can grow pretty good mustaches. And they're different type of mustaches. Like Geordie's isn't as thick, but it kind of is it's a lot more like of a Zorro mustache. And he kind of has the hair where it grows here and then it just doesn't he shaves it, then it grows back like it very quickly, like my face. Whereas with Morgan's mustache, he can kind of turn into different shapes and sizes. Like Morgan's mustache can have a mind of its own, and my mustache is just pretty thick and red, unfortunately. But our mushroom care and routine's the same. Like we have a little wax that we put on it, make it look nice. But we also try and shave it up and do the twisty thing. I know Drew Hunter's got a fantastic mustache. But we were kind of growing them because we thought we looked like 80s porn stars. Thought it was pretty funny. And then obviously we thought, why not start a member and raise some money for men's mental health and men's health and kind of have fun with it. So we did that, and we were very lucky to get a great reception for that. We raised a bit of money, more than we expected, and that was awesome. And then my dad started growing mustaches. All our mates started growing mustaches, so we're kind of starting that trend of looking like 80s porn stars. So that was fun. But yeah, that mustache routine, you keep it clipped, trim down the rest of your face, and use a bit of that balm, bit of wax, because it makes it smell good. Because I noticed for me in particular, when I drink coffee or eat stuff, you get a little bit of a after smell in that area. So putting the balm there really really hinders that. So if that's a must.
You've got to make some sort of bet with Dathan to force him to grow out his. I don't know.
We've tried.
I know. That's why I'm saying you gotta have some sort of bet with him to force him to do it, because that guy
sub 350 at Milrose and
yeah,
he'll
sub
do
350 at Milrose.
I'm gonna do something. We're gonna collaborate that as well and try and push him to grow out a mustache or goatee. I'd love to see him with a goatee because I think he's got the gray kind of freckle, like the freckly kind of colored bits and pieces of hair that are coming out there now, and he grows out a bit, then he shaves it down, it's all clean shaven. But we're going to try and stop that and make him grow out a goatee because I think it'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
So
I
look
think
out
he
for that.
actually might. I think one of the years he was running professionally, I think he may have rocked a goatee. I might have to go back and look
I'm
at
gonna have to find that photo.
with those old like 2002 sunglasses that are
Oh my
kind of
God.
rounded.
I gotta find that photo.
I have got this photo in my head that I think might be him. All right, on to our next one. Australia versus UK versus USA versus World 4x mile. Who wins? Who's on your team? How to improve your sport is too big of a question. We'll stick with the relay.
Yeah. I mean, I think the first thing is, I mean, you guys probably already mentioned it, but you know that mixed relay that they had at the Olympic Games? I would prefer to scrap that and turn it into a DMR.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think,
yeah.
I think you guys have mentioned, like, I just think that, like, it's such a missed opportunity because the DMR is such an exciting sport in NCAA. And if you look at the countries that could be in it, there's a lot of countries there that could be competitive because not every country has a good 400-meter runner, not every country has a good 800 runner, but they have great overall runners that they could do. On the Australian team, obviously Stewie, myself, I think, honestly, Matt Ramsden, I think, would be very good at that event. I think if he stays healthy and can get through that, he can probably run. I mean, he's run a 3:51, 3:34, 1500 to mile. And then I think Morgan would be a very, very dangerous 4x mile. The UK has a ridiculous amount of depth there. I mean, you got Whiteman, you got Hayward, you got Grice,
And Kerr.
you got Kerr. Yeah, I mentioned Kerr last. But yeah, the depth there is unbelievable, and they're not the only ones. I'm sure missing like Gooley and other guys that have run, low 330s to 350 miles. I think the UK would be probably the favorite and the hardest one to beat. The US though, would be interesting because you have Hocker, you have Centro, you have Nagoose, and Tia. I mean, Tia's run 350. He's the collegiate record holder in the mile, which I keep forgetting because of how crazy that year was for both those boys. But I think it would be a great race and a great mix up because even like I don't even think Kenya would have a great team, but I don't think they would have the depth, particularly just the duration, like just the way that race would go. I think UK, US, and Australia would be very, very dominant in that event. So that would be very exciting to watch. I think who would win? I'm going to say Australia because obviously. But I think if you put it down to it, it's going to go into the last 400. And it's going to be between the three and they're all going to be there. So it depends on who's going to be able to pop it off and finish it off well. So I'm going to call Australia because obviously, I'm biased, but that would be an amazing race. And I think that would really hype up people in the sport and also much more of the team-based thing. It's just exciting. Like if you ever watch the relays and, obviously the relays in the Olympic Games for track is phenomenal, but the longer relays in swimming are amazing to watch because it just changes all the time. And I think that would happen a lot.
Yeah. Well, even like we're all distance people here, like there's it goes to like 6 to 8 deep for the 100, like who gets to travel because of the relay pool and substitutions and stuff like that. And then in all the distance events, top 3, and that's it. So a DMR or 4x mile at champs and stuff, I think would be phenomenal. Also, it allows that 4th place person to probably go in the 8 or in the 15. 400 runners, they have that whole relay pool. All the sprinters have that relay pool. It's a big
relay pool too.
Yes.
It's massive. In the US, I think they took 10 people.
Yes,
it's huge. Like there's so much depth there. If you can show it off.
Next one, biggest culture shock when you moved to the US.
Oof. Definitely. I think for me it was the coffee culture. That kind of breakfast brunch culture was a bit of a shock. Also sport, I think, which is an interesting thing because we're very sporty in Australia, but collegiately wise, the way people just wear they wear their college with so much pride. In Australia, that's just not the case because we don't have college teams like competing like that as much or as like in a larger scale like that. So that was a massive shock. Like I remember going to a football game and getting absolutely cursed out to the point where a guy wanted to fight me because I wasn't wearing any Wisconsin gear. I was just wearing like I think I was wearing some like just casual gear. I was getting ridiculed because I was in a really nice seat. I was watching the football and I was just getting completely destroyed. And I didn't get it. Like I was like, I'm here supporting. I don't know what you want from me. But then I look around and everyone's in red or white, you know. So that was a big culture shock for me, and also the coffee because I just could not understand how people can drink that drip drop coffee. It's just disgusting. Like I don't like it's unusual to not see in Australia like 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. cafes being opened and people going in for their coffee in the morning. And that's a big culture shock for me because I remember when I first moved to the US, nothing was open until probably 7, 8 o'clock, and people were making drip coffee and pouring it in, and I just couldn't drink that crap. So that was a bit of a shock for me, and I really enjoyed when I got my nice espresso machine and being able to like control that culture shock and be able to bring a bit of home back.
I took a recruiting trip to Wisconsin, obviously my senior year, and the jump around as a recruit was absolutely wild. And then we went to a hockey game against what's Wisconsin's biggest hockey rival?
Minnesota?
I would say it's Minnesota or Boston College.
I think it was Minnesota.
They're very good.
It was wild. Like that that recruiting trip was absolutely wild, and I absolutely loved my weekend there. That was cool. It was phenomenal. The sporting events were so fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, was close. There was a shot I was going to go there. All right, here's your next one. Oh, do I have it? Yeah, I got it. Favorite non-running related memory at Wisconsin?
Oh, it has to be. Honestly, it's just I guess it's non-running related. It's hard because everything kind of related to running. I loved. I don't know. I guess it's running related, so I can't say that one. I loved the scene, like the college life. I think in Wisconsin, in Madison. Madison's a very unique place. I mean, I traveled around a lot and seeing other colleges having a similar vibe, but the city is literally built into the college. I feel like the city's not itself. Like Madison isn't a city more or less than Madison is a college town. And I loved the atmosphere, game day, the atmosphere, like the people around there, like the bars, the food life. It's such a shock for me because I didn't know much about Madison moving from Sydney. I was getting much more of a vibe of like a small town, not having that much of a culture shock in the sense of like a city life, but they just had such a way of making you feel like you're part of a community that's still like very much college based. Everyone was on the same kind of team. When you saw foreigners coming in wearing Minnesota or Michigan, clothing or apparel, people would just belittle them in a good way. Obviously, they weren't super mean, but they'd stir them up and give them a bit of shit. And that was what I loved about it, was that like it was their town, and I really enjoyed that because it made me feel like, obviously coming from such a far away from home, it made me feel like I had a second home, like I was creating another home here in the US, and I really loved that, and I still do miss it a lot. So that's probably one of the biggest favorite memories I have, is just being a part of that town of Madison.
Chris, have you ever been there?
Madison, I took a couple trips up for the cross country meet. I didn't spend too much time in the city. I think I was just kind of in and out because I went to Marquette down in Milwaukee, so I just like took the bus up. But all I remember, my favorite thing was the cheese curds up there were better than in Milwaukee. It was at the old fashioned, I think is what it was called. That place was really good.
That place is like legit. That place and Dottie's Dumplings are like the two big places to get like the best cheese curds, they reckon, in the world.
I absolutely loved and was totally shocked by like when class got out, and then all of a sudden there's 40,000 motorbikes or scooters just ripping around. Like everybody owned like a little moped or whatever. Yeah. And it was just like, instead of like Eugene, it was bikes because the campus was way smaller, but like just because the campus is in the city, everyone it was crazy. Class got out and there was just thousands of them everywhere.
I've heard that's changed a little bit now. People have like electric scooters. Like they've bought,
wow.
like a lot of the football team have electric scooters now and they ride them around. And I was
Makes
like,
sense.
wow, what a change.
All right, here's the next one. How much Mountain Dew do you drink in the off season? What is your favorite Mountain Dew flavor? I didn't know you were a Mountain Dew person.
Yeah, no, it's an on-running joke. I am a Mountain Dew person. How much do I drink off season? I remember coming back from New York and just having a 2-liter bottle. I don't know what that is in ounces, but I had that and I drank that in the entire day and I was sick. Because I was just like so excited to be able to like drink a lot of it. It's just disgusting. I don't endorse any drinking soda. Do not do it. You'll be a better person than me. But it's just something that it's a little treat that I have for myself when I drink that. But my favorite flavor, honestly, just the original one. There's like this old school one I could get at Wisconsin that was like the original one, like with a different label. That was my favorite. But yeah, I don't really mess with the other flavors. I just get the original one. If I'm gonna get a soda, it's usually that one. But I'm trying to substitute that with sparkling water. So I'm trying to drink a lot of sparkling water because I think it's just the bubbles that I'm addicted to. But yeah.
I don't think the question made the cut of like the ones that I screenshot from Instagram, but there was someone who did ask if you had to give up, it was either beer, which I would guess I would throw NA beer, I guess, that you guys always shout out on your podcast, or Mountain Dew. But I'll throw in coffee. Which of the three would you give up?
I would give up Mountain Dew because I love my coffee. I love like the process of making coffee too. I find it very meditative. And I think as well, like, definitely, yeah, I love beer. I really love beer. And I think that's the one thing I've loved it being in Colorado is the beer here is fantastic. The NA beers we've been trying out in the pod have been lovely. And I've really enjoyed being able to try different types of beer, hazy IPAs. Like we've got a really good brewery down from where we live. And I think we definitely have that. I mean, Georgie has this kind of saying, a hazy a day keeps the doctor away. So we kind of enjoy, like, I think it's also that process of like recovery mentally, being able to sit down with your mates, have a beer, just one beer, have a chat, and then get back to work. Like we just really enjoy that kind of aspect to it. So yeah, I'd definitely get rid of Mountain Dew. It pains me to say that because I have an addiction. There's a problem with me with that, but we'll try and get through it.
We've got just 2 more of these. So here you go. What's it going to take to beat Jakob at the World Champs?
It's a great question. I think it's interesting because his dad did mention that his threshold is pretty much perfect. Like he can't get much better in that threshold sense. It's his speed though that he can get a lot better in, which is terrifying because if you look at the way he races, he's able to kind of finish off that race as best as possible. And he looks like he can run a very, very fast pace, but very relaxed at the end. Like the way he's able to finish races is very impressive. He's always been able to kind of push it through and stay relaxed. And relaxed fast is a hard thing to learn. Like, I feel like when you run fast, like, I'm sorry to use him as an example, and no offense to him, but Cole Hocker, the way he runs that last 100 meters is hard to watch as a runner because he's just throwing everything at it. His legs are going everywhere, but he's getting the result. He's getting the win. He's getting through it. But if you watch Jakob finish a race, he doesn't lose that energy. It's still getting pushed out, and he's very much getting control of what he's doing. He's relaxed and he's fast. And I think the way to beat Jakob in a race like that is to be able to kind of not let him go and retaliate when because I think with him, he was very tired at the end of the season. He mentioned that he just wanted to have a break when it got to Zurich, and Chariot was able to get him for that Diamond League final. But I think for him, like it's all about being able to be there and be receptive to him to be able to finish him off. Because really, I mean, yeah, his threshold's on point, but if his speed's not on point, then people are going to be able to develop that. And people like Cole, for example, if he's able to kind of be able to stay relaxed and run fast like that and keep all that energy and push it into a way in which he can kind of be much more, what's the word?
Just like efficient.
Much more efficient, that's the word. If he can be much more efficient in that energy output, he could fly past Jakob in that last 100 if he's there and he's capable of it. And that's probably what I would want to do, and that's what Kerr would want to do, and pretty much everybody else in the world who wants to be, a world champion. So for Jakob, yeah, you really want to be able to. Obviously, the strength's important, the threshold's important. People know that, but obviously now there's an aspect of being relaxed and fast that you need to be able to kind of perfect, and that's going to be what it takes to win a world championship in the 1500.
All right, here's our last RG question. Between you and Georgie, will there be a friendly rivalry for Oceania records?
Of Oceania. Oh, me and George have always had an interesting relationship with. The first time. When George won in the indoor mile, I remember thinking like, this guy's going to be annoying. He's going to be annoying for me because he's going to be living rent free in my head, and he has been for a while. And I've really enjoyed kind of being able to live with him and being on a team with him now, because I can give him a bit of shit too, because I think now I can kind of even the score out because he lives in my head, but I can like annoy him. I think, yeah, right now, me, Geordie and Morgan could easily, when Morgan gets, up to where he wants to be able to perform and race, easily these three guys could be interchanging between Oceania records. I think we all want to knock Nick Willis off the record books. Just because I think for him, it'd be funny to see his reaction to that. But yeah, I think we definitely have that rivalry and that excitement about it. I didn't even know that we broke the Oceania record. I guess it makes sense because New Zealand and Australia are probably the two dominant countries in Oceania to have a record like that. So when I broke it and I made sure I beat Geordie, that was an exciting moment because I kind of had PTSD of him coming back and passing me in the last 200. But he did close in at 26. He just wasn't up behind me, thank God. Yeah, that rivalry will continue, and it will continue with Morgan too. And hopefully you guys will can see that little bit of resentment or a little bit of arrogance on the pod when it eventually happens, when maybe Geordie beats the Oceania record or Morgan or myself. We can kind of keep people up to date with that.